Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the AEW report for the 24th of March, 2021. One of the better shows they've had in a while. And of course, I'm still an AEW fan. There's a lot of things, though. Just a sidebar, if I only listened to The Observer, I would hate AEW because Dave Meltzer, who I respect his historical knowledge. I, however, completely think that he's either one of the best manipulators and workers in the history of the modern wrestling business, or he's going senile. What he finds to be good wrestling these days is an abomination to actual working. And I say that as someone who was involved in the independent wrestling business for a dozen years. I say that as someone who's been a fan for over 3 decades. I don't understand. Anyway, the reason I say that is his views on some of the matches tonight so so vehemently differ from mine. I felt I had to say something. In any event, we actually opened with the first match of that nature. Kenny Omega with Don Callis defeats Matt Sydal with his brother Mike Sydal. Many people thought this was a fantastic opener. This did not belong opening a television program unless your target audience is Japan fans, PWG fans, or um, like you're literally trying to come off, let's say, a sporting event, and you want people to flip on and see high spots just for the sake of high spots. This match, otherwise, is an insult to storytelling, and the fact that their supposed world champion is in this opportunity is ridiculous. Um, if Seidel had won, he would have won a shot at the world championship. Callis joins on commentary, which is a better part. And I mean, I would gladly, if Don Callis wanted to do commentary on AEW every week, or they moved Paul Wright into Excalibur's spot, or they moved Taz into Excalibur's spot, I mean, literally, please get rid of Excalibur. He is growing worse by the week. He sounds like a constipated person who is just putting out moves for the sake of sounding intelligent, but he really adds so little to the program. It's not even funny. Anyway, chain wrestling early. Omega tries a power advantage. Seidel uses agility. Obviously, this is, and I will say, Seidel had one of the better matches for his style that he's had in a very long while. Probably easily his best in AEW. Omega takes him down with a back elbow, and then we see a Tiharis by Seidel, and Omega rolls the outside. Uh, Omega regains control pretty easy and takes down his opponent um, relatively simply. Seidel avoids a V trigger, hits a twisting moonsault for a near fall, follows up with some knees in the corner. Omega tries to counter a top rope maneuver, gets taken down by a head scissors, but pops up and doesn't sell anything, and nails Seidel with a strong lariat. Omega continues to beat him up, suplex on the apron, which is a needless spot, and then a backbreaker. He goes for a power bomb. Seidel comes out, lands a couple strikes, and then follows up with a Rana from the top rope and a Northern Lights bomb for near fall. Tries another top rope maneuver, but Omega escapes, and down goes Seidel. Snapdragon suplex, and then Seidel counters the V trigger into a cradle for a near fall. I do actually like that Omega is so into his finishers, the V trigger and the one winged angel, that he continues to go for them. This I actually do enjoy. And then roundhouse kick with a lightning spirals for another near fall. Seidel goes for Meteora. Omega counters into a buckle bomb. Another power bomb V trigger, but Seidel kicks out just before a 3 count. Omega hits another V trigger. Seidel counters. One winged angel reverse Rana. Sets up for a shooting star press, does Seidel, but Omega kicks the ropes, buying him a little bit of time. Omega crushes Seidel with a V trigger. Seidel lands victory roll for the closest near fall of the match. Omega has had enough, hits another V trigger into the one winged angel for the win. This match was fine, and if you wanted to put it in the main event slot, or if you were coming off an NBA game or an NHL game or something where you were trying to get crossovers, just flipping channels, move, that's fine. But it's an insult to anyone who had to follow it because you've made their life more difficult. It's an insult to storytelling because there was very little story in the match. Just yuck. Anyway, John Silver and Dark Order interviewed about Silver being ready for his match against Darby Allin. They tell Marvez, why is he still employed? Again, he looks like a geriatric Michael Cole. To go away. They make fun of the coffin drop. Hangman Page tells Silver that he'd be proud of him, win or lose. Wishes him luck. Hangman Page eventually becomes the leader of the Dark Order, one would assume, which is a cool spot for him. Hangman Page is up next in a squash-ish match. Cesar Bononi, who does not belong on national television, he's only there because he's big and kind of looks like something, but with so many talents that you bring in for Dark and Elevation, why he's given a national television shot, I will never know. Unless it's literally to rub in the fact that he used to be with WWE and they want to prove that they can do more with ex-WWE talent. But other than that, so many more guys could have brought something out of Page. So Page hits a boot, and then Bononi catches Page and dumps him on the apron on the outside. He nails a lariat. Page comes up and lands a series of strikes. Bononi counters with a weak-looking body slam. Page avoids a corner clothesline and downs Bononi with a suplex. Buckshot lariat follows for the win. Good win for Page, although I wish he was further along in his story development. At least he won and such. So Lance Archer addresses Sting in a video. He said he looked up to Sting, but this is Archer's time, and Sting's going down as one of the greatest ever. People are going to remember Archer's name, and sooner or later, it'll be showtime. I don't necessarily think that Sting and Archer is good for Sting's health, unless they did a completely cinematic match, but I do think it's good for Archer, and they are rehabbing Archer very well. I actually enjoyed this. Video recap of the Thunder Rosa Britt Baker played, including Rosa's emotional post-match comments where basically she, is almost teary-eyed over what she's accomplished. Shivani interviews Baker. My gosh, Britt Baker has it. They really need to put the women's division behind her and strap a rocket to her. Anyway, she yells at the fans for their lack of welcoming her properly, called them dumb and delusional, told Rosa that Rosa should be thanking her. She creates a moment with the Blood. She acknowledges that Mick Foley acknowledged her and says in a great line that she had done more in one night than it took Mick Foley 20 years to do. And then, and even if Tony Khan is signing all the legends, the biggest one's already here, and Baker says that's her. She put AEW on the map, but these 3 letters are secondary to DMD, which is a shot, I assume, at Randy Orton with his 3 letters of RKO. Man, she's phenomenal. They need to do more with her. So Christian Cage talking to Varsity Blondes and Dante Martin. Dasha arrives and asks what they're talking about. Christian said they're just talking about wrestling, and he's giving them some advice. Frankie Kazarian walks up and acts offended that he hadn't been greeted. He said he lives the outwork everyone gimmick, and he's wondering when Christian would actually start to live up to working. Christian said next week and offered to wrestle Kazarian next week. Kazarian accepted, noted that, in fact, it's been 7 years since Christian wrestled. I don't know. I mean, this could be good. I don't know that I would give Christian's first match to someone they're not pushing. I guess I could see the idea of giving it to a good hand who, if things did fall apart in there, not that it will, but if they did, Kazarian could easily cover for Christian. But at the same time, you'd think they'd want his debut to be more impactful. Pinnacle promo, Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood, Shawn Spears with MJF, Wardlow, and Tully Blanchard versus the Varsity Blondes, Griff Garrison, Brian Pillman, and Dante Martin. Actually turned into a six-man. Their promos after, for some reason, I put it first. Probably because the promo is better than the match. I love the Varsity Blondes. I think they deserve to be on television. This Dante Martin is only over because he's a Young Bucks wannabe clone, and they were just Hardy clones. And this is where, again, and I will rag on Meltzer here, if he wasn't hyping this kid so much, I don't think anyone would even care who the Martin brothers are. I really don't. But because the internet's all abuzz with them being somebody, they're getting opportunities that they really haven't earned and shouldn't really be getting. Anyway, Garrison and Spears start. Babyface controls Spears in the corner with frequent tags. Harwood comes in, makes a blind tag, and takes Garrison down with a lariat. Too many lariats, honestly. Takes control of the match. And then Martin gets a blind tag of his own. Hits a springboard moonsault, forcing members of the Pinnacle to the floor. Martin and the Blondes hit dives. Wardlow steps in between the Pinnacle, and they regroup for a commercial break. Pinnacle regain control during the commercial. Harwood cuts off a comeback attempt from Martin with a brainbuster. Spears hits the C4 for the win. Actually, good to see Spears get the win here. Could rehab him a bit. Shivani comes in. He interviews the Pinnacle. Wheeler says that the Pinnacle isn't just a group, they're a family. Harwood calls out Santana Ortiz because the marquee says professional wrestling. MJF calls out Jericho. Basically says Jericho is old and outdated and demanded that the Inner Circle come out right now. Shivani knows that this isn't going to happen and says the Inner Circle were hurt 2 weeks ago, and MJF gets in his face, sends him away, and says the Pinnacle is always and will always be on top. Video plays for Team Taz. Taz says everything's fine within Team Taz. Brian Cage apologizes for his actions, acknowledging Sting in a positive way. He goes around the group asking if everyone's good. Starks and Cage were pausing, so eventually this will break off. I think Starks versus Cage is the program they'll end up going with. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, then a segment that I don't really understand the placement of. QT Marshall is interviewed by Shivani. He mentions his wife in the crowd, even though he'd done a 6-month storyline where he was with another woman. And he said that he, aside from Tony Khan, he's the hardest working person in the country and in the company. He then calls Cody Rhodes for his easy life that he's had. He gets to go to sleep with his wife every night while Marshall, his wife, sleeps alone. He wants to get rid of being called just Cody's friend. Challenges Cody to a single match. Cody comes out with a headset on. Man, I hate that. Like, we get that you work for the company, but if you're going to come out, why do you need the headset? And then he's got a sling on his arm from the injury from Penta a couple weeks ago, last week, whatever. and he said that he'd accommodate Marshall's request for a match. Arn Anderson could be the referee. Cody said he's not going to hurt Marshall. If he puts him in the figure four, he'll let go and put no pressure on. He accepts the challenge, calling Marshall his best friend. I think this is a good storyline if it had been done with someone they're actually going to push. I don't think this is a good storyline based on the fact that Marshall, who is a good trainer, and I wouldn't doubt that. I think he's good for the company and does a lot. I don't think he needs to be in a main storyline, and Cody's stories, just because of who he is in relation to the company, should always be main storylines. I don't agree with this angle. Lucha Brothers, joined by Alex, cut a video promo before their match. Lucha Brothers, Penta, and Phoenix, and Laredo Kid defeat the Young Bucks, the Jacksons, and Brandon Cutler. This is a spot. Let's put ourselves over because we want to be part of PWG on national TV match. This is trash. Again, this does not lead to future stories or people really caring. Now, they did do a post-match promo, but you could have eliminated the match completely and just done the promo and done a match that actually counted for something. Phoenix and Nick started. They do a bunch of fake-looking wrestling move, dancing, ballet combination stuff. They match each other move for move, which athletically it looks nice, but if I want ballet, I'll go to Broadway. Matt and Penta tag in. They do a sequence of their own, so everyone's doing ballet. Cutler and Kid come in. Kid stretches Cutler and then kicks him, slaps him, takes him down. And then the Bucks cut off Kid's run. Kid has been a major force in AAA for the last several years. And then they do a double team. Phoenix takes both of them down with springboard arm drags. Penta crashes into a pile on the outside. Step up tope. Cutler cuts off Phoenix and dives and lands one of his own. Kid concludes the run, dives from the top rope, and there's a moonsault to the floor. Bucks then hit the Made in Detroit for near fall. Go to commercial. DDT allows Kid make comeback, and during the break, Penta tags in. Lucha Brothers hit some thrust kicks and an assisted splash for a 2 count. Kid tags in, springboard, Rana. Penta hits a diving foot stomp, and Phoenix lands the senton for the pin attempt and broken up. Phoenix then hits a step-up kick. Nick continues the cutter into a corner strike sequence. Phoenix and Nick trade to super kick. Phoenix hits a heel hook, and Nick hits a rebound lariat for the double down. Matt and Kid tag in. They trade punches. Matt counters a DDT attempt into a series of Northern Light suplexes. One of the most overused moves in wrestling at this point. Takes Penta along with the ride. Bucks then hit the risky business. Cutler lands a springboard elbow drop for near fall. Again, spot. Way too long at this level. Nick crushes Penta with a senton on the floor. Phoenix then hits, they isolate him, hit the Indie Taker. I hate that name. Nick then hits an Escalada dive outside. Matt takes out Phoenix with a springboard DDT. Kid hits a Spanish fly off the top on Cutler for the win. Post-match, Omega run out, attacks Kid, and then takes the mic. Omega says 3 years ago he made a choice to come to AEW because of the Young Bucks and with the mission of making it the best promotion on the planet. Omega said they chose to be friends with Cutler instead. Omega said that even if Callis comes off abrasive from time to time, He's going to give them one more chance to do the too sweet. He said now or never. Bucks turn their back on him, walk away. Omega goes nuts, turns around, gets super kicked in the mouth, and the package pile driver from the Lucha Brothers, and left alone in the ring. Good Brothers run out to save him. Omega is bleeding from the mouth after this. This is, I don't know, it's not where the world champion should be. Cargill video package plays. She calls out Red Velvet. She says she's just a pit stop away from Cargill taking the throne. They're both undefeated. Cargill looks like she's $1 million. Velvet steps in the ring. She'll be stepping in with, well, a very intense lady. Anyhow, new Cody and Brandy Rhodes reality show Rhodes to the Top is announced for TNT, probably debuting in the fall or winter. Moxley and Kingston spoke. Kingston says that he broke something and the Good Brothers and Omega would pay for this. Moxley says they're not willing to take this, and if they're willing to get bloody, and he and Kingston are. Moxley doesn't know if he likes the Young Bucks or not, but he owes them one after last week. If the Good Brothers are going to play the game, they better be willing to get their hands dirty. Ty Conti with Nyla Rose, or defeats Nyla Rose with Vicky Guerrero. This is not good, but Ty Conti continues to impress. Nyla Rose, to me, is a failed experiment. They just need to let her go. Rose overpowers Conti with a slam, tries to apply a seated octopus, and then gets tangled up. Conti found an attempt at an armbar. Conti lands judo throws. Rose comes back with a spine buster for near fall. Rose continues to use power to maintain the advantage. She then set up Conti for the diving knee strike from the top. Back from commercial, Conti gets her knees up on a senton, makes a comeback with a series of corner knees, goes for a hammerlock DDT. Rose powers out. Conti drops Rose into the ropes and then hits a diving knee for a near fall. Goes top rope again. Nyla avoids the dive. And then we see Conti gets nailed with a lariat. Rose goes for the beast bomb. Conti rolls through. But there's some miscommunication on what looks like a pinning attempt. And then they regroup. Conti lands more strikes and hits the DDT. Hammerlock DDT for the win. Rose and Guerrero try to attack post-match. Shida runs out to make the save. Bunny runs out and attacks Shida and Conti. Matt Hardy, stable, looking on during this whole thing. I don't know. I mean, this, again, neither Rose, they should just abandon the experiment. Vicky Guerrero, I don't understand. I mean, it's nice they're giving her a job, but I don't know that she really adds anything. Hardy calls the Women's Eliminator Tournament a sham because Bunny wasn't in it, and then he said his clients have been overlooked for too long. This just falls flat. Anyway, video recapping Miro, Sabian, Taylor, and Orange Cassidy feud. Their upcoming match will be called Arcade Academy. Next week's Dynamite lineup: Arcade Academy, Miro and Sabian versus Taylor and Cassidy. Shida and Tay Conti versus Nyla Rose and the Bunny. Omega and Good Brothers, Lucha Brothers, Laredo Kid. Cody and QT Marshall with Arn Anderson as referee. And Christian Cage, Frankie Kazarian. Every match from this show led to the booking of a next match. WWE could learn how to book in that way. Even though WWE probably has more pound for pound talent, they don't even book week to week anymore, and it's pathetic sad. Anyway, Scorpio Sky video package played. He says this isn't a new side of him, just a side that we haven't seen before. He'll face Mike Seidel next week on Dark Elevation. Main event time, TNT Championship, Darby Allin, the champion, defeats John Silver with the Dark Order. I don't know. A couple of moments here that just felt clunky. Darby Allin is probably the best example of a guy who wasn't over at a national level who is now because of the TNT program. Um, so they establish that Silver has power advantage early. Chain wrestling. Silver crashes into Darby, sends him out of the ring, follows up with a Beal from the corner, and then second Beal into the turnbuckle. He hits a knee strike and a brainbuster for near fall. Silver continues to dominate during commercial. Allin gets ragdolled and thrown all over the place. His fight goes to the floor. Allin avoids attack, sends Silver over the barricade in the ringside area. Silver didn't make it back into the ring. Angels took a bullet on a dive, and then Silver follows up with a German suplex to the floor. Strong comes out to even, or Sting comes out to even the odds, and Silver and Allin back in the ring, strike battle, and three-quarter roll for a near fall by the champion. Silver comes out with a stunner into a rear naked choke on, or basically the old Anna Jay finisher. Hope she's recovering well. Allin rolls with a cradle, forcing Silver to break. Silver then hits a DDT for near fall. Silver rolls Allin back into the ring. Announcers mentioned that there's very little time left in the TV program. Silver hits a palm strike, blocks a cradle attempt, and hits a near fall. Allin then hits a coffin drop. Silver sends Allin sailing with a pump kick, and then Allin counters a superplex and goes for the coffin drop onto the Dark Order at ringside. He manages to fall on the floor anyway. Silver lands top rope F5, but then Allin manages to get a pin attempt. He then sets up he gets set up for Mr. Birdie Lee's powerbomb, but he then Allin hits the code red for the win. Match was fine. It was a decent enough main event. Post-match, Matt Hardy pulls Allin out of the ring, sends him into the barricade. Hardy's stable comes out and beats up Allin, and the show ends with a free-for-all. Not what I would do. At the end of the day, though, this was a better than average Dynamite and worth checking out. We'll be back with the NXT review. I should be back with some Smoky Mountain stuff later today, depending on my schedule. But keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.